to help our customers navigate, understand those risks, and assist them in reshaping their own business. Finance is a tool to enable growth and prosperity. The only way to thrive and do well as a business is constantly being able to adapt as you learn.
Hello and welcome to Leadership Dialogues on ET Insights powered by ET Edge. And today I have the privilege of hosting Shayne Elliott, the CEO of ANZ Bank. Shayne, welcome and thank you for your time.
Great to be here. Thank you.
All right, so there are tectonic shifts which are happening around the world. We are seeing winds of change sweeping the world. How is it affecting the world of banking and finance?
Well, so first of all, that's nothing new, right? So we're 196 years old. We've been around for a long time, and banks experience crises, change all the time. In fact, so to some extent, this is normal for what we do, and in particular, a bank like ANZ who operates in 29 markets all over the world. So there's always something happening somewhere. So banks are designed in such a way, in terms of the way we think of our balance sheet and the way we service our customers, to help customers navigate change. I mean, if you think about what a bank does, we finance change. People want to move assets, they want to build things in different places, they want to change who they trade with, their supply chain, all of those things. That's actually what we do for a living. Now, we need to do it in a safe and resilient way. So that's what we do for a living. The current changes, of course, are very, in many instances, very dire and very awful in terms of the human toll and dreadful things happening in many parts of the world. But as I said, from a bank's position, ours is to help our customers navigate, understand those risks, and assist them in reshaping their own business to ensure that they're safe and secure and able to thrive in whatever the environment will be.
So in such a volatile environment, how do you think the financial sector can help in global stability and growth?
Well, as I said, that's exactly what we do here. Our job is to mobilize our resources, our balance sheet. At ANZ, we have about a $1.3 trillion balance sheet. It is to bring those resources to bear to finance change, to help those customers move their trade patterns, build new factories in different places, employ people in different parts of the world, etc. And then we have other tools, not just financing, but actually hedging. How do I hedge, the changes of interest rates or foreign exchange or volatility in general? We have other tools that enable people to do that as well. So I think banks have a really important part to play, particularly in periods of change, whatever that change may be.
Right. Let me now address some specific challenges, Shayne. Inflation, currency volatility, and there are huge regional economic disparities. So how would you negotiate these?
So again, at ANZ, we bank some of the world's largest companies, irrespective of where they may be based, whether they're headquartered in India or Japan or North America or Australia. And those companies generally are navigating the world and thinking about relative inflation, relative currency, different interest rates, all of those things that you talked about themselves. We, in many ways, are sitting in the background of our customers and supporting them as they navigate those risks and think about it. And we bring our resources to bear, our insights, our data, our capabilities to help them understand those challenges and navigate. Now, you talked about disparity. Disparity, sadly, has always been with us. We wish it wasn't so, but the reality is the world is always going to be a disparate place. And there are some, in any cycle or any period of time, any generation, there'll be some doing better than others, some with different kinds of challenge. Our job at ANZ in 29 markets, and look, we bank some of the most sophisticated markets in the world, like United States, but also some of the least developed markets in the world, like parts of the South Pacific. So we're also used to that difference, yeah? And our job is to ensure that we bring the best of ANZ to bear to our customers, irrespective of where they are, how much they have, what their aspirations are. And so how do we be a purpose-driven organization that says, hey, we're not here just to bank people in good times, and we're not here just to bank people who already have a lot. Finance is a core human need, a core human right, you might say, because finance is a tool to enable growth and prosperity. It's not the only tool, but it's a really important one. And so being able to give our customers access to finance in a form that they need that's appropriate for their situation, irrespective of where they might be, is a really important part of what we do and our purpose as a financial institution.
All right. So you talked about India and other markets. Given the current context, given the current volatility that we have, which markets are looking promising to you in terms of business?
Yes, it's always difficult for me here because we operate in 29 markets and we love all our countries, so we love them all equally. But I've often asked which are our favorites, so it's a little bit like trying to choose a favorite child. But I will tell you that from where we sit today and we think about the changes happening in the world, and again, I'm not thinking about the changes happening this week or this year. I'm thinking about over the decade, the bigger picture. The markets that we're really excited about at ANZ are in fact India, and we see a lot happening in India to be very, very positive about, when we think about the changes in infrastructure, financial infrastructure, digital infrastructure, we think the growth opportunities. So India is very, very important. We're still very, very committed to the opportunity in Greater China. I know there's lots of talk about China, and yes, things have changed, but it's still a country of enormous scale and of enormous interest to people like ourselves. And then a couple of other interesting ones at the other end of the spectrum, markets like Japan and Korea, which again, much more, more sophisticated, more developed, have a series of different needs, but are also internationalizing their markets, reaching out, investing more into the international global market. So there's sort of four of the bigger markets that we're very excited about. But as I say, I could go through all of our countries and tell you a very positive story about all of them.
Shayne, we are seeing sweeping changes. We are seeing huge shifts being ushered in by the new digital possibilities, new digital world. You are a 190-year-old company. As a traditional bank, how are you embracing this change? How are you adopting this change? And how is it looking like in the future?
Great question. Yes, we're 196 years old, but the reason we're 196 years old and we have survived for 196 years is that we have shown and have a proven ability to adapt. If we weren't good at adapting to the new technology of the day, we wouldn't be here. And we would have gone a long time ago. And, every generation comes along with new tools, new technology. And actually, banks like ANZ, not just us, but banks like ANZ have shown time and time again, we're really, really good at commercializing new technology. You just think about, the obvious one, mobile phones. They're not that old in the sense of the phones as we know and love them today and use them. But banks are one of the first large sort of institutions to understand the power of this new technology and put a bank branch in everybody's hand. And we were able to do that. So you think about some of the adaptation that we have is very, very vast. Today, this is our number one branch. We're by far more than 95% of our transactions for our customers and our engagement is through technology. We've already digitized our organization. So in many ways, we might be old and we're very proud of our heritage, but the way we go about servicing customers today is very, very, very contemporary. And so as we think about things like AI, where is that going? It's a very natural place for an organization like ANZ to be interested because, we're already using AI. Most of it's invisible to our customers, but increasingly, we believe that's going to be more at the forefront and actually the way that customers interact with us. So I'm actually really excited about the technology. And again, if you've architected your bank well, and not all banks have, but if you've architected it well with strong foundations and the right capabilities, not just technical capabilities, but culture and way of thinking, actually the technology is exciting and actually brings great opportunity for us. That's how we think about it. Technology will never stay still. There will always be something new around the corner. There will always be something new and exciting and scary at the same time. And it's really organizations, our ability to identify what those tools might be and convert those into propositions to make customers' lives easier. That's really what marks out, long-term survival for organizations like ourselves.
Okay. So through all this, how has the customer changed for you? So there was a time when the customer would go to the branch, have an interaction with the bank, with the people in the. So there was this personal interaction with people at the bank itself. Now, do you see that fading away, that going away, and the customer and the profile of the customer changing as well?
Yes, it won't go away completely. If we go back to basics and think about banking, so 196 years old, there's not many, but let's say there's a number of banks that are kind of 200 years old, right? Over that 200 years, what we fundamentally do hasn't actually changed, right? The way we do it has changed, but we only do two things when you think about it. We do two things for our customers. We change the timing of people's consumption. And what does that mean? Well, I want to consume a house. I want to buy a house today, and I don't have enough money. So I borrow so that I can bring forward the consumption of that house. Or I want to be able to have things when I retire when I don't have any income. So I save for the future. So you are changing the timing of when I have things or not. So number one job. Number two job is I move money for you. You give me an instruction. Please pay Air India X rupees, or please pay my family member or whatever. We act on your instruction. They're the only two things we do. Now, there's a little bit extra, but basically they're the two things. The way we do those has changed. Wasn't that long ago? The way you would instruct us to move money was write it on a piece of paper called a check, right? And then we gave people little bits of plastic in their card, and the way they told us to pay that merchant was with a card. And originally we slotted in a machine. Now it's tap and pay. And now you give us that instruction on this. And so the way we're doing it is changing, but not really. And people, by and large, people don't want to go to a bank branch. Nobody wakes up in the morning excited thinking I'm going to the bank today, right? People want the job done. I want to tell the bank, I need that money paid. I need to get that loan. That's what they want, the work to be done. They don't want to go to a branch. And so the reason today that people go to branches is because we make them, because it is the way you give us instructions. We say, well, if you want me to do something, you have to come and see me. It's not a great customer experience if you think about it, rather than say, no, I know you just want to do it yourself. So I'll give you the tools so you can do it yourself when you decide, how you decide, and in the comfort and security of your own home. So I think the way that customers are engaging with banks is absolutely changing, and it's changed a lot over 200 years, and it'll continue to do so.
All right, wonderful. So staying on this, I'm a little curious to ask this to you. We are seeing huge changes in consumption in Gen Z. How are you anticipating that these changes will affect you in the banking sector?
So customers have always changed. New generations come along and want new things. That is the nature of human life. Our children want different things than we did, and their children will have different expectations. So what we do know is the fundamentals here, as I said, what banks do is needed. The community, people, families, business, we need to be able to change timing of consumption. We need, if we want growth, we need to be able to move money and pay for things. Yeah. So the fundamental need that we're solving will not go away. It doesn't matter what generation you are, you still need to do those things. What will change is how they want to do those things, and what their definition their definition of what good looks like in that service. What is safe, secure, engaging, whatever it might be, will constantly shift. So again, you go back to this point that says, I don't know what the future will hold. I don't know what the next generation is going to want. The only way to thrive and do well as a business is constantly being able to adapt as you learn, try new things. As customers tell us they want different things, we have to take that on board and adapt and respond really fast to be able to continue to engage our customers. So it's a constant journey of understanding and listening around what customers want and how they want to engage with their money, because at the end of the day, it's their money.
Absolutely. Coming to a very different conversation now, and this is a very current and contemporary conversation, Shayne. This is about sustainability. Now, this, and any forum that I go to, this is possibly the most debated, the most discussed topic. In terms of financial institutions and the way they allocate capital, how do you think those could be aligned with the principles of ESG, with principles of sustainability?
Sure. So if you go back to basics and think about us as an organization, I'm just talking about ANZ specifically. We're a purpose-led organization, and our purpose is to shape a world where people and communities thrive. That's what we do. And we do that through the way that we provide services and finances, right? You can't have a thriving community or thriving people if the environment is not sustainable.
Right.
Okay. So it's not, oh, we run the bank, oh, and we do some things about sustainability. It's like, no, it's actually integrated into what we do. So we passionately believe that. Then we stand back and say, so how do we think about that in everything we do? So that really comes to life in three ways. Who we bank, to your point about capital allocation, so who we bank, how we behave, and what we care about. And so who we bank is the way that we allocate our capital. And so we need to ensure that we are banking those customers and providing finance to those customers that share that same vision around sustainability as we do. You know, irrespective of their starting point, whether they're an emitter today, for example, if they have a path to zero, we want to, and remember, there is no sustainable future without finance. You can't build wind farms if you don't have money. You can't convert coal-fired power to sustainable if you don't have money. And so money is an important enabler of this. So we need to find those customers that are going to lead that transition and bank them. So that's how we bank. How we behave is to make sure that when we're engaging with customers, we're giving our customers the best possible data, the best possible guidance, the best possible advice based on what we know in order that they can make more sustainable choices. And the causes we care about, that's an interesting one for us, but that's because we're a large organization. And so what we do and what we say, it matters, not to everybody, but we know that our voice on many issues carries weight. And so we have to be thoughtful about what we say and how we do so that we can help, bring the community along with that, some of the challenge that we face, because, a net zero future is not easy. There are very, very difficult trade-offs, cost of living, not just sustainability, but the reliability of energy, etc. So we have a voice to play as well. So that's how we think about it. But in terms of capital allocation, I'll just say one other thing. We're not a fund. We're not an investor. We don't buy and sell stocks. We don't do that. We back people, and we back companies, and those companies are made up of people. And so that first point about who we bank is the most important decision we make. Are these people who have good values? Are these people who believe in a sustainable future in this case, in this question? Are these people of character that we can trust to do the right thing? Do we have those shared values? Those are the things. That's how we allocate capital, as opposed to how much money do we want to put into that area of the economy or that area. We're like, no. These are the companies we want to back because we know and trust them, and we believe that we have an aligned vision for the future.
Right. So another very pertinent, very contemporary point of discussion is financial inclusion. In your opinion, how can the global banking sector foster financial inclusion, especially in underserved markets?
This is a great challenge, and I think it's a great challenge of our age, and I don't think we have a solution for it today. And so and it worries me. And I think, in fact, if anything, large financial institutions, more traditional players like ourselves, are actually being forced to exclude people rather than include people. I'm not saying it's intentional, but that is the outcome. And why is that? Because because we are more and more regulated. Yeah, and I'm not anti-regulation. I want to be clear. Regulation has a role to play, but one of the unintended consequences of more and more regulation, particularly around the safety of banks, I understand the community's desire to have safer banks. I understand that. I understand why regulators want us to hold more capital, be more careful who we lend to, hold more liquidity, et cetera, et cetera. But the net outcome of that safety is lowering the risk appetite of banks. The reality is, in terms of financial inclusion, requires banks to take on risk, not walk away from it. So I think there's a duality here between, I don't think banks have bad intentions. I think banks want to be able to be part of the solution in terms of financial inclusion, and you talked about economic disparity and those things. But we also have limitations on what we're allowed to and are able to do, given our preference at this point in our history as a community, our preference for safety for the banks. And so I think it is a difficult one. I don't think there are easy solutions. Now, clearly, at some level, that's why we have supranational organizations like the World Bank and other things. How do we bring financial technology to work in a more targeted way to solve some of humanity's great problems, one of which is inclusion. Now, of course, the simple answer to some of this is new technology, and there's no doubt that technology can be a part of the solution in terms of there's clearly some amazing tools available, whether it's through mobile phones or others that sort of are able to can be more inclusive because they are able to be distributed more broadly across the community at much lower cost than what traditional banks have. So there is a solution here in terms of technology, but I think it's like a very complex set of problems to solve. And that doesn't mean we walk away from it or forget about it or don't engage. We do engage. And again, a bank like ANZ, we have a lot of financial inclusion programs, helping people be more literate with money, helping people, motivating people to save for a better future, etc. So we have lots of inclusion programs, which we're very proud of. The challenge for us is how do we scale these to be much more impactful right across the globe?
Right. So there have been some experiments that have happened in India on financial inclusion, and some of them have been extremely successful. Is there merit, Shayne, in creating a larger global conversation, in taking best practices from different countries and then streamlining them and taking them to, like I said, underserved markets?
Absolutely. Look, there's always things we can learn. I mean, there's no, of course, and to some extent that is partly the role of international organizations, whether it's people like the World Bank or whoever it might be. There's lots of different forums for that. There's lots of industry associations. And I think, of course we can learn. Of course there are best practice. Of course we can observe in many markets, and so I do think as the world sort of continues to globalize and there's more openness and transparency, it's really clear that people do already see good ideas from, people see good ideas in Brazil, or they see good ideas in South Africa, or they look and they say, wow, they're doing something really amazing in Vietnam. How can we do that here in our home, wherever that might be? So I do think that is true. Is there merit in having a more coherent or a more sort of thoughtful approach or a more coordinated approach to that? Undoubtedly. The difficulty, of course, is you've got a lot of people in the industry, each with different sets of priorities, each in different levels of maturity. And so the coordination is very, very difficult. But as I said, that's why we look to places like United Nations programs and others to try to coalesce and get industries like ours together to solve some of those problems. But there's no doubt we could do a better job.
All right. So, like we began this conversation, there are changes that are being witnessed every single day in this world. There are wars going on in different geographies. There's conflict. When you're managing a large financial institution, Shayne, and you being the leader of it, what leadership principles are you applying so that you're able to negotiate these challenging times? How do you manage things?
So I think it's really important. So particularly in a larger organization like ours, particularly one that's in more than one country, and we're in 29 and we've got about 43,000 people. Most of our people don't live in Australia, our home, they live somewhere else. So we've got a very diversified business. Clearly, what doesn't work is me making all the decisions. I can't. It's not going to work. It would be impossible. Mm-hmm. So what we need to do, and remember, our people are dealing with our team in India are dealing with different challenges than our team in Fiji, or our team in Japan, or our team in Australia. So they have to. So we go back to basics. We have to have clarity of purpose. Despite that, we all have the same purpose: shaping a world where people and communities thrive. We need to have the same set of values. What's right and wrong, how we do things, the same culture, the way we think, the way we get things done, what we take into account when we make decisions. Those things have to be really strong, and then we need to enable our people to make decisions based on that cohort of, purpose, values, culture, so that they are equipped when they are dealing with those issues to know how to make the best decisions at pace. Because one of the things in a banks need to make decisions quickly. Right. We can't sit around and debate everything forever. So it's almost like, and I hesitate to use it as an analogy, but it's almost like a religion. You need to have some core values. I understand that ethics and the basis of my beliefs if I'm a religious person, or in this case in a corporation, So
Right.
I know what's right and wrong. I know what to do when these decisions happen, and I feel enabled to go and make those decisions to the best of my ability. And that's how we do it. And then, of course, when there are bigger things happening, COVID is a good example, or a
Mm.
financial crisis on a global scale. Those situations are slightly different. In those situations, when it's a global issue, then more things do have to come to the center, and we need to be really clear as leaders to all of our people. Hey, this is new. This is COVID's great. This is new. You know, we don't have a playbook on what to do here. You can't just rely. Yes, our values and culture matter, but in this particular case, we're going to be really clear what we're asking people to do. So in those cases, we are more directive in our leadership. Hey, I just want you to do these 4 things. Yeah, because in a time of crisis, what our experience shows is people become overwhelmed. You know, our customers are overwhelmed. Our people are overwhelmed. I don't know what to do. I'm getting lots of information. I'm trying to do my day job. I'm dealing with a pandemic. I'm confused. I don't know about whether I'm taking vaccines. Am I wearing a mask? What do I stay at home? Do I come in? And so in those situations, people say, just tell me what to do. And in that situation, that's when management leaders lean in. Say, I just want you to do these 4 things. Yeah. And so it depends. I think the best form of leadership is adaptive. So the leaders can adapt to the challenge of the day and also adapt to the capability of your team, because all teams are different. Teams change. Some teams are mature and know how to work together. Some are new and forming. And so you need different. So I think that sense of adaptability and that awareness of what is the challenge we're trying to solve, what are the capabilities we have as a team, what's the best way to bring those things together for the best possible outcome for our customers.
All right. So another critical sort of point that I would like to discuss with you is talent. Um, Talent has been always, I mean, it's been a challenge in the financial sector as with any other sector as well. Um, how do you see talent being part of your growth story, and how are you, and what trends are you spotting?
So we only have 2 resources. So banking is simple, okay? We literally have 2 resources. We have people and we have, technology. We'll call it technology, right? Now, in the old days, that technology may have been branches and things like that. And today it's software, code. Yeah, that's basically all we have. And what we do is we need to bring those 2 things together to create propositions to solve customers' problems. That's
Right.
what we do, right? So people are critical to the bank, and to what we do. Why? Less and less because they're doing the work of moving the money. In the old days, people would get the cash, move the cash physically. We don't do that really anymore. Our people today this is really intellectual work of, I understand our new customers' needs. I can see what they're trying to do, and I know how to translate that need into a solution. And I then know how to work with the technology, the tools, the technologies. I know which tools to use and how to use those tools to create a solution. So people are critical. What's changing is the shape. So if you think about an organization like ours, 43,000 people, we have more software engineers today than we do people working in branches. So traditionally, and if you went back 10 years, we didn't have very many people, software engineers, and we had lots of more people working in branches. The total number's about the same, but it's changing its shape in terms of the shape of the organization and the skills and capabilities. And by the way, it was different 20 and 30 and 50 and 100 years ago, and it'll be different in 10 years and 20 and 30 and 40. So the way good organizations think about that is, again, it goes back to that word about adaptability. I don't know what the future looks like. Nobody does. But what we do know is it'll be different. And so what we need are people who are adaptable. So people who are good at problem solving, people who learn new skills. At the moment, everybody's learning how to use co-pilots and AI. Yeah. When those new tools come along, it's not like we throw all the people out and get a whole bunch of new people. So we need people who say, hey, I like learning. I like trying new things. I'm excited by that. And I'm going to go and learn, and I'm going to use these new tools again. So it's a very different way of thinking about talent and this adaptability, rather than I'm hiring you for a technical skill you have. There's still some of that. Obviously, some people have highly, highly technical skills, but more and more what we're really looking for is people with the right mindset and people with that broad capability of being adaptable. And that's how we think about that. And now, the other thing I would just add on this, I'm actually quite interested in this subject. The whole area or industry of human resources really came about after World War II, and it became a profession. And if you think about it, what it was actually designed to do was to exclude people. What I mean by that is what was happening, all these men mostly coming back from the war into, the United States and Europe and whatever, and we needed a way to filter them out to find the few that we wanted for jobs. So a lot of HR practices they're about excluding people. Oh, you don't have a degree. Oh, your marks are not high enough. Yeah, so we would exclude, filter. Actually, today it's the other way around. Actually, there aren't enough people to do what we need. And so now it's all about inclusion. So how do I want to find more people, not less. And so it's about our whole approach is now, how do I attract broader talent? Diversity with a capital D, like the big picture of diversity, right? People who come with the right mindset. I don't really mind, necessarily which university you went to or what marks you got on your scores or what degree you actually got. What we really care about is how you think. And so we don't care where you come from. We don't care about your ethnicity. We don't care about your sexuality. We don't care about any of that stuff. We got to find a way to be more inclusive for people in our organization. I think it actually changed quite considerably.
Right. We've almost come to the end of this interview, Shayne. My final question, and this is a question I think anybody would like to ask, is how does the future of banking look like?
So I've got a very easy answer to that, and that is I have no idea. And I think it would be well, I think it's easy to sit here and predict all sorts of things. The reality is we'll be wrong. I mean, I think, and a good example is going back to my friend here, the mobile phone. You think about smartphones are only 15 years old.
Right.
Yeah, 15 years has radically changed our world. Like it's pre-smartphone to today, radical shift in the future of banking. Yeah. Go back before that. It's not the first time. You just think about, we all take it for granted now, but you think about credit cards. Credit cards were invented in the 1960s, a little piece of plastic. I mean, you think about it's magic, right? A piece of plastic that you can have in your pocket. You can go anywhere in the world and buy anything in real time. I mean, it's magic. That's technology. You think about ATMs, same thing. It's a robot. I mean, you think about it's a robot that came that, allowed me to get cash 24/7, et cetera, et cetera. So the world of banking just changes vastly. And it goes back to where we started the conversation. Banks are actually really good at adopting new technology. I have no idea what the future of banking looks like. All we know is it'll be different. It'll be radically different. It'll be because banks will find amazing things to do with generative AI and I don't know, whatever else might come. And so again, I go back to that. I don't buy into the argument that we should spend time trying to predict the future. We should just know it's going to be different, and all our time should be building our adaptability so that we can adapt irrespective of what that future looks like.
On that pragmatic note, Shayne, it was lovely talking to you. What a wonderful conversation on all aspects of banking that influence us. Thank you for your time, and wish you luck with ANZ. Thank you so much.
Thank you.